according to Matthew. When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a scholar of the law, tested him by asking, "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and the prophets depend on these two commandments." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord.
Counsel of the Fathers to speak to you about the needs of their mission. Believe it or not, I've been here at St. Pius X since 1981. It's more than a few pounds and a few gray hairs ago. I began here, of course, working as a Master of Ceremonies, and I was involved in the religious education program. And of course, for the last 18 years, I've served you as your deacon. But over the years that I've been here, I've come to know the Consolata Fathers very, very well, as I'm sure you have as well. Yesterday at the 4 o'clock Mass, Father Conley mentioned to me that it was he who actually hired the Consolata Fathers, and he served us as our pastor some 37 years ago. And I'm sure we all have our personal stories of how, at one time or another, perhaps they have touched our lives. What stands out in my own life goes back a few years ago. Father Bob Rizak, who has now gone home to the Lord, was called to spend some time in the missions of Africa. Perhaps some of you were here. We had a going away Mass for him that evening, and later on the reception. You know, that very same day, earlier that day, I received a letter from our bishop. At that time, it was Bishop Edward Head, accepting me to begin my 5 years of formation to become a deacon. And at the end of that evening, I mentioned this to Father Bob, and he told me that he would pray for me. But he was so insistent, he wanted my assurance that I would invite him to my ordination. He said, "I want to see you." Father John Ruther, who is now, for those who don't know, a permanent resident at the Brothers of Mercy, he also encouraged me to persevere. And what they assured me would be so worth my time, so worth the effort. And you know, 5 years came and went, and sure enough, who came to that ordination was Father Rizak and Father Ruther. Again, I know we all have stories of how the Consolata missionaries have touched our lives, but that's my story. Today we are posed with a question in today's gospel. How do we love the invisible and the transcendent God? The first part of that response, Jesus tells us, calls for a love of God with our whole person. Our heart, our soul, and our mind. And the second is to love our neighbor as ourselves. So the gospel today underscores that true faith it's about doing. It's not just about saying. The Consolata Fathers have done that. They have shown us their love for God with their whole person, giving themselves completely to the service of God and to the needy of their missions. And who today are sending their missionaries, like Father James, at the 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock Mass, to serve the needs of us who are here in the United States. We who are so fast becoming mission territory. It wasn't very long ago that our own Bishop Malone, announced his plan for the future staffing of our parishes. And he has told us that because of the critical shortage of priests, it is possible that the parishes of our future are going to be administrated by deacons and religious and by qualified lay people. And it's not going to happen too far off from now. That being said, regardless of who administrates a parish, the Mass and the sacraments must be at the center and the core of everything that we're about. Because it is from this that everything else that we do as a church must flow. The Mass especially, the church tells us, is the source and summit of our faith. We celebrate the death and the resurrection of Jesus each and every time we gather for Mass. And if we lose the Mass, we lose our identity. And nothing else that we do as a church really matters. Without a priest, there is no Mass. How fortunate we are then to have the Consolata Fathers right here at St. Pius X to assist us with our sacramental ministries. Father James normally celebrates the 4 o'clock Mass on Saturday afternoons, and he wasn't here yesterday. And I told the people at the 4 o'clock Mass that his absence should speak volumes to us of just how important he is to us. Because he told me about another pastor who begged him to celebrate Mass at another parish, because there was no one else to do so. How vital he will be in our future church. Each and every year, we take a second offering. We take a second offering to show our gratitude and our appreciation for all that the Consolata Fathers have done for us. I had the opportunity to speak to Father James about what perhaps some of their needs are. I'm sure you know that they own a house on Brompton Road. Like all of us who own homes, we know the expenses that are involved in maintaining and repairing a home, not to mention bills and utilities and so forth. But Father James also mentioned to me that it's seen in the future that the Consolata priests that serve in our country, as they begin to reach their retirement age, that they're going to eventually be residing in the house on Brompton Road. And I guess that's good news for us, in one way, because it will mean more priestly service to us. But it's also going to be necessary to make their home more handicap accessible and making it more practical for elderly priests. And so today you and I are posed with the very same question that was posed to Jesus. How do I love and show our love for the invisible and the transcendent God? How do we put that love into action? Today in our second offering, we'll be given the opportunity to thank God, first of all, for the gift of their vocation to us. And also we'll be given the opportunity to assist them in continuing to bring the good news of Jesus, especially to those who are most in need. The Consolata Fathers have given all. They accept no salary. They live lives of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And they rely on us for our help. And so may our offering and our prayers for them today truly be reflective of our love for God, our love for our neighbors, and for the Consolata Fathers.